Hey guys, I'm Angela, and this week in hobby news, I'm going to be looking at a couple of board games that struck my fancy from the GenCon lists, as well as talking a little bit about some new models from Games Workshop. Let's go ahead and start with a couple of board games that I thought were really cool that came out at GenCon, or at least were announced and maybe coming soon. And I'm going to start with the one that you see on screen here, Dungeon Decorators. This is a new game from Slug Fest, which is the people that brought us Red Dragon Inn, which is a really fun party game. Now, in this one, it's not really a party game. What you're doing is you are a dungeon decorator who is helping, basically a consultant, who's helping the next Evil Overlord to build their lair, and you are essentially just designing the lair for them. And this speaks to me every single time that I see it, because even though, like, it's not exactly the type of game that I'd specifically normally gravitate towards, I do love dungeon delvers, and even this is you making your own, kind of, because you're designing the dungeon. Like, if you actually look at the schematics that the lady vampire there has, actually it might be a male vampire, I'm not actually sure, but the vampire there has, you can see the like little orientations of like the pathways and everything, and that's kind of what the tiles look like that you're going to be laying down in this game. So though that aesthetic doesn't super speak to me, but the box art does, and every time I see this, it reminds me of After School Dice Cub, which is this adorable anime about these four girls who have a board game club at their school, and one of them wants to be a game designer, one of them just wants to hang out. Like, they all have different goals and everything. It's a slice of life series, but it's about board games and these girls having this club, and the game that one of the girls is designing is a decorating game. So every time I see this, like on all of the lists, because there was a bunch of different lists that I was looking over, like, oh, cool, what cool things came out from Gen Con? This one every time stood out to me because I'm like, oh, I want to play a decorating game like the one that she was designing in the actual anime, because in it, she designed it actually quite well. Like, my husband is not a board game designer, but he is a game designer. And so we end up talking about like game design and those kinds of things a lot. And while we were watching this series, the level of detail that the writers went into to make them like make sense and to actually talk about actual principles and all of these kinds of things was actually really well done, which is one of the reasons I like the series so much. And I'm so sad that it's not getting a second season. But like, I'm probably gonna pick this up simply because, one, I want to support more games that do this kind of zany, like, kind of stuff, because I love games where you end up doing like other roles that are not necessarily the more like glamorous ones, if you will, in the fantasy worlds. Like, normally you're an adventurer or you are the evil overlord. In this one, you are a decorator, you're a designer, which really, really speaks to me. So this one really stood out to me as just something that I'm probably going to end up picking up just because of all those reasons I just listed. The next game on my list is The Loop by Pandasaurus Games, which I have a soft spot in my heart for this company. I'm a really big fan of Machi Koro, and they also produce that, as well as they do like Dinosaur Island. The Mind is actually a really big favorite of mine, and they publish that as well. So there's a lot of games that Pandasaurus makes that I really like, and this one is no different. And just look at how brightly colorful it is. That's one of the main reasons that I put it on here, but the other main reason is actually what you're doing in this game. So you are time agents, and you are going up in battle against the evil Dr. Faux, or Faux. It might be Faux, actually, because it's spelled like F-A-U-X, so I think it's probably pronounced Faux. But you're time agents. Now, if you've seen my board game wall that I normally stand behind when I do the news and stuff, you'll probably have noticed the massive collection of time stories that's there, because I have the core game, and then I think 9 or 10 of its expansions. So I really like games where you're playing as a time agent, trying to prevent like rifts or other disasters from occurring, because they normally have some sort of puzzle solving or mystery solving, and that kind of thing. So this game has similar elements to this. It's got really cool chunky pieces, which is one of the things that really drew me to it, because like, time stories I really like, actually, because it is a very clean white box aesthetic and everything. This is the complete opposite of it, but is basically doing very time agency type things with time loops, which honestly is really funny to me because time loops are such a huge thing right now in games, between it's like 12 hours or 12 days or something like that. And then there's also, I've completely blanked on the game. Chaos Cultist is actually playing it right now, but there's another game that does a lot of like time loop stuff right now. So that's a really big mechanic, and I love seeing that in board games because they always basically address it very interestingly. And I'm probably going to end up getting this one. It's actually out now. This one simultaneously released both at GenCon as well as to retailers. So I think Games of Berkeley, my friend, the local store, has it available. I don't know if we've sold out or not, because they did do pop-up GenCon, so we got some copies in, I believe, for that. However, I don't know if we've sold out. If we haven't, again, I'll probably be getting this one just because I really like time agent stuff. I love how bright and colorful it is. I love the fact that there's a lot of different, like, just textures out of this game, and Pandasaurus does that a lot. They have, like, different shaped things, they have different cardstock styles, and if you'll look, you can't really see it super well on the picture, but they have tokens to represent the various time agents that you're actually portraying in the game, and they have super cute, zany little, like, designs, and I absolutely adore it. So it's definitely one I'm going to be checking out in more detail. The last game that I want to spotlight today is Merchants of the Dark Road. I will admit something to you guys right now. I really have a thing in games about actually being a merchant. It's partially why Bargain Quest was on one of my other lists, because I kind of said this with Dungeon Decorators, actually. I love games that take you and put you into the role that is otherwise not the most glamorous, especially when you get these like dark fantasy settings, or even just normal like fantasy or sci-fi settings, basically otherworldly ones. This one is particularly interesting to me though, because not only does the aesthetic really appeal, definitely feels dark fantasy, the components within the game look really cool. This picture of course isn't showing any of them, but you actually get a flat carriage piece that you play down that is kind of looks like the one that is on the screen there, that's on the box art, and they're gorgeous looking. So you get one of those, and there's lots of really cool components, but the thing that I find really cool is you as a merchant, your objective in this game is not only to travel between the cities and of course sell your goods and gain wealth, but you're also trying to gain fame. Now at the end of the game, when you score, you aren't like adding those two together or anything, you're actually taking whatever the lowest is, and that is what your final score is. So you actually want to still have both those numbers be high, but you want them to be balanced, which really sounds interesting to me on a mechanic level of like basically gameplay of like how do you balance wanting to sell your goods or produce new things versus say hiring an adventurer that maybe you sold some stuff to previously that you then hire on to go on the roads with you, which helps bring up your fame. Like, there's a lot of really cool like strategical things that you'll need to think about to basically optimize your gameplay, and I love playing those a few times and trying to figure out like how do I best work this engine. Almost like I don't think it's really described as an engine builder explicitly, but I still feel like there's a little bit of that thought process going in with it. So I'm super hyped to get this one. I don't know when this one in particular is coming out, but I'm definitely going to be looking forward to it. Oh, hey, didn't see you guys there. Well, while you're here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. All right, well, we've talked about some board games. Let's go ahead and move over to some Games Workshop news because we do have a little bit to cover. And in regards to the board games, if any of you guys went to Gen Con or if you've done your own research on what's releasing soon, definitely let me know your favorites down in the comments below because I'm always interested in what other people are playing, because sometimes that leads me to games that I might actually really like that I might have overlooked previously. So definitely tell me about your favorites. Now, in regards to the Games Workshop news, they've served over 1 million customers online, and to celebrate, they're offering a free Sergeant Castus as a cool new thing you can get if you spend over 150 British pounds, or your regional equivalent, of course. This is actually pretty cool. It's happening right now, so it's a nice little incentive to maybe go and pre-order some of the new orcs that are available or some of the other things that are up there. But it's a cool way to get a pretty rad looking model. I especially really like the Necrons, actually. I wish there was one of them like grabbing his actual leg, but I do like the like reaching up, trying to go for him. Because, I mean, they're Necrons, right? They reanimate. It would make sense that they'd be able to be cut in half and then actually still moving. So the fact that they're not just all dead, unmoving carcasses on the ground, I absolutely love it. I actually think it's a pretty cool model. Probably won't be getting it myself, but I'm sure some of you will, and I'll look at them and see how cool you guys paint them up online. This next model might not be a freebie that you can get for spending a certain amount on Games Workshop's site, but he is glorious. Helbrecht is back, and he is bigger than ever, and my goodness, do I love that base he is standing on. I love the fact that it's sculpted. I love the fact that he has the two servitors with him. The one cleaning the sword, I question, because I go, well, it's still in the orc. Shouldn't you wait till it's out of the orc to actually clean it? But you know, whatever, it's fine. I know it's like mimicking an artwork and everything, so we'll just go with it. Who cares? But I love this. It's just, there's so much going on. I do really enjoy sculpted bases, and I really like seeing the different factions engage on the various bases, or like on each other's sculpts. So like we just looked at the Space Marine with the Necrons reaching out and everything. I'm sad that the orc is dead on this base, but at least he's there representing the Xeno forces. And my god, does that Black Templar just look so freaking cool. I don't even run Black Templar, but I'll probably be getting him because I really want to paint this model.
Us gangers, we're in our bunch. But even we need a rest now and then. And for that, we head off to the market. You see all types down here, flogging whatever they can get their hands on. It's got guns, it's got ammo, it's got weird stuff. It's even got people. Easy to find an hired gun or two when you know where to look. Yeah, it's a good place to kick back and watch the world go by. Closest thing we get to peace and quiet. Course, if that sounds all boring to you, then don't worry. Can't have this many gangs in one place without summit kicking off.
Sticking with the theme of models that I absolutely love, we're going to talk about the new Necromunda terrain set that was announced at GenCon that we didn't get to cover last time because, oh my god, it's so cool. I love markets. Oh my god, it's such a theme of this episode because we had the merchants, we had the decorators, now we have the Necromunda markets. I have a really big thing for markets. I really like this miniature set. I'm definitely going to be picking it up, even though I probably have zero actual use for it and will probably never actually like use it in a game or anything because I don't really run Necromunda and I don't know if it really would work specifically for 40k, maybe Kill Team, but I just really like the look of it. I think it's super rad. I mean, the Necromunda line in general is pretty cool. It's probably, in regards to the models that Games Workshop produces, I think it's my third favorite, because I would say Underworlds is probably my first, just in regards to the diversity and just detail level. Then it's probably the Blood Bowl, because Blood Bowl just gets such fun models consistently, almost across the board. There are some disappointments, of course, like the Khorne ones we looked at last week, but they're still pretty rad. And then Necromunda is like third, because they get really cool designs. They get to pull from some of the other lore that we don't get to see very often in 40k, and this gives us some setting and terrain that's just unique to the setting that you just don't see very often. Like, I can't recall any other sets that I've seen, even in the past, that were like markets like this, especially not on the 40k side. Maybe there were some in fantasy, but I just don't feel like we saw it very often.
Incy Wincy Spider went up the Varan spire. Down came the blood rain and washed the spider out. Out came the Varan guard, their blades a lashing pain. So Incy Wincy Spider ne'er went up Varan spire again.
And finally, to wrap up the Games Workshop Gen Con news, we're going to talk a little bit about the brief preview of Warcry Red Harvest that was announced. They did a small cinematic trailer that was mostly just audio and some visuals and everything like that. No models or anything like that, but it sounds like it might be Goblin Spider Riders, because it was a lot of it was an Itsy Bitsy Spider-esque song, if I remember correctly, and they were talking a lot about spiders. So I'm just assuming we're getting goblins, perhaps, which is pretty cool, actually. I don't think we've seen much of the orcs or goblins in Warcry very often. So actually having a new faction added in that isn't just the chaos or more humanoid creature or pure human looking people is pretty rad, actually. I'm actually more excited for this than I realized. I wish they had actually had a bit more information to share with us. I'm sure we'll get more soon, and I'll cover it then. All right, that has been this week's hobby news. Make sure to tell me what board games you might be interested from Gen Con, as well as which of the 3 that I picked out that maybe you are most interested in. Plus, I wanted to give an extra special thank you to my patrons for supporting us and making it so that content like this can continue to happen. You guys are awesome, and thank you so much. I have been Angela, you have been watching Hobby Night, and I'll see you guys next week for a brand new video. In fact, we're getting an extra one this week. We are getting our extra painting video of the orcs, so be ready for that on Monday, and we'll have a new hobby video on Friday with some more news. Bye!